This show is powered by BL3P, the Lightning-enabled European Bitcoin exchange.
Connect the world.
Christian, Zebedee, Japan.
Led Zeppelin were an English rock band formed in London 1968. The group comprised vocalist Robert Plant, guitarist Jimmy Page, bassist and keyboardist John Paul Jones, and drummer John Bonham. Do you know that at first the band was named the New Jarbirds?
Yes.
It is too bad Bitcoin didn't exist when Super Mario got released, because earning sats instead of golden coins is way more fun.
Yes.
Yakaniku, meaning grilled meat, is a Japanese term that in the broadest sense refers to grilled meat cuisine. Yakaninu originally referred to Western barbecue foods, the term being popularized by Japanese writer Kanagaki Robun in his Western Food Handbook in 1872. Can we wake you up in the middle of the night for a session of Japanese barbecue?
Yes.
I own more than 10 guitars.
No.
I've spent way too much time on ChatGPT.
No.
Do you skip leg day?
Yes.
My dream is to retire in Japan.
No.
Scotch whiskey, often simply called whiskey or Scotch, is malt whiskey or grain whiskey or a blend of the two made in Scotland. Did you know that all Scotch whiskey was originally made from malted barley? Commercial distilleries began introducing whiskey made from wheat and rye in the late 18th century.
Yes.
Bitcoin and gaming is the perfect marriage.
Yes.
Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
Yes.
Welcome to the Connected World Weekly Podcast. I'm Edward.
And I'm Steph. We are ready to take you with us into the beautiful world of the Lightning Network.
Enjoy the ride. You said yes there. This is episode 64, guys, of Connected World. And let me tell you again, this show is made possible by BL3P. Those guys are helping us out to help us in our mission. And if you also want to help out, then follow us on Twitter, subscribe at YouTube. And if you have some questions, just tell us in our Telegram group. And the donation, of course, you can try the bot there. It's also fun. So try it out.
Conecta el mundo.
And then, Steph, we prepared a small highlight of this week. And perhaps Christian. Yeah, because Christian, you must have heard that the Mastering the Lightning Network, the book, is also now available for free under the Creative Commons license. And it's also allowed to be remixed and shared. That was some news. And René Picard is one of the co-writers, also champions open licenses despite of other profiting from exclusive IP. So I think it's a nice thing, of course, that everybody can read it now.
Yeah, but wasn't it written on GitHub originally?
It was on GitHub, yeah.
Because Mastering Bitcoin
right.
was.
Yeah.
Andreas used to say it's a good way to write a book because you got commits and branches and stuff. So I just assumed like Mastering Lightning would have been the same. So it's kind of by default open source maybe.
It is so funny to be able to write it on GitHub. I mean, that's a great place, like you said.
And I was thinking, Christian, because I saw that as of December last year, if I remember well, it's also available in Japanese.
Yeah, you said it.
And you speak Japanese, right? Can you also write and read Japanese, or?
I can read Japanese. I used to be able to write Japanese, but it's just a skill that it didn't seem to make sense spending time practicing it, because I'd only use it to fill out my visa in Japan. That's literally the only time I would write it, because like people type. But I can read, but to be honest, I still need to practice like my more technical Japanese, because I mainly speak to friends and my wife and stuff. So I gave a presentation a few months ago in Japan. Actually, that was one of my first technical presentations, which didn't completely fail. People laughed, and it went up on YouTube. So I guess it means
I saw some parts of it, but my
Yeah.
Japanese is horrible, of course. I mean, I don't speak Japanese at all. But I was thinking, maybe you have read the book in Japanese or something. But that's not the case.
No, but that's a good idea, because I remember I was trying to give my presentation, and there's a lot of stuff like technical things that you just wouldn't know unless you actually had a job or studied it, right? You know, so for example, in English we say like to send an API request, but in Japanese they say to throw an API request. But I automatically said I use the word to send. But friends, no, it's to throw little things like that you just wouldn't know.
The Japanese word of send. Yeah.
So I should read that book, you know, and kind of pick up on it.
That would be really nice. Well, for everybody that didn't read the book, read it.
In Japanese.
It helps you.
Yes,
in Japanese, of
Two
course.
birds with one stone.
It's a real valuable resource. So take a deep dive in it and learn about the Lightning Network.
Conecta el mundo.
Let's do the proper introductions then.
Welcome, Christian.
Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
Of course.
I had a small laugh about some of the answers you gave.
Okay.
You were counting your guitars. How many are there?
Yeah, well, I got like a guitar lute, so maybe I'm not sure that counts. But
they are guitars, right?
5, 6. Yeah, I've got like maybe 4 or 5 real guitars, and then I've got like guitars which are just like not real, like the real guitars, but the guitars I just bought when I was like, you know, a poor student or something. So I kind of don't count them as
so you don't count them. Well,
like the $100 guitar you get from the catalog kind of thing, right? So I don't count them. Yeah.
But do you play guitar? Yeah, obviously you must play guitar then.
Yeah. I would say I've been trying to play guitar for a while, but the problem is I get too addicted to programming, so I forget to practice. You know, but I'm practicing.
Preference.
I just like programming is addictive, and then you know, but I play a little bit. Yeah.
Cool, man.
And you also play games, I think, because you started developing also Bitcoin games, right, in 2013 or something.
Yeah. So I kind of started developing games maybe 2010, 11 or something.
Earlier.
Yeah. It was one of these. I actually graduated from a computer science course, but they didn't teach any programming in the course. I didn't actually know how to get a job as a programmer. So I went on YouTube and just typed in like how to make an iPhone app, and then games seemed the funniest thing to do. And then none of my games were popular. You make a game, you put it on the App Store, like, so what, right? But then I heard about Bitcoin, and then I found my niche in 2013, you know, and I kind of got a little bit of a crowd there, and I've been doing Bitcoin games ever since.
The perfect combination, but I'm immediately thinking that Bitcoin before the Lightning Network wasn't that useful, I guess, for gaming, because it wasn't instant then. So how do you develop then games that?
When I first started, I was very ignorant, right? I just heard about Bitcoin, and you know, I guess I basically, what people say is I spammed the network, you know. So they'd play a game, and I would just like broadcast like, you know, tiny amounts, you know, like a few, well, I don't know, 10 bits, 100 bits, whatever it was back then. We used bits, not sats. And like, you know, blocks were kind of empty. So it was kind of like that zero confirmation thing was fine. And then so I made a bunch of games on that, and then they all stopped working, like when the fees went high, you know. But that was quite an eye opener, because I actually started off as, I guess, what people would call like a big blocker, right? You know, like obviously we need to make the blocks bigger so my games work. But then I realized, but wait, you know, if my game, I think one of my games was filling up like 2% of the block space once, of one block, not all the blocks. But I think like if my game, which isn't even popular in like real gaming terms, can fill that much, like bigger blocks isn't going to solve it, right? We need like a better solution. And that's why, I was round about the time my game stopped working is when the Lightning Network paper kind of came out.
Oh, really?
So.
Really? But that must be a great moment for you then, because then, yes, certainly they open up a new opportunity.
Well, I was quite lucky because I was always independent. I made all the games myself. I didn't have any like costs or anything. So I had a lot of friends and contemporaries who like they had formed businesses around like Bitcoin games, and when their game stopped working, they had no other choice but to like go over to like other blockchains because they had salaries to pay and that kind of stuff. But I was quite lucky; I could just kind of put the pause on it and just kind of learn about Lightning and start to play with it when it came out. And as soon as it kind of like LND came out, which like the first one, and you could kind of like change a bit of code to make it work on mainnet. I went to make I went to remake a game, but on Lightning, and then it didn't work because Lightning was like terrible in the early days. So then I was like, okay, we're not quite there yet, So, but yeah, it was it was quite an eye-opening experience going through the whole kind of scaling debate whilst having skin in the game.
Hey, you said we're not there yet. Are we there now? Fast forward like 3 to 4 years.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think we're there now, but like when Lightning first came out, I couldn't even make any game with it because people had to have channels, things didn't route. It was just like completely, it was very, very hard. But now we can make popular games. Well, we can't support like everybody just yet, but it takes time for a game to become popular. So I kind of feel like we're on the same velocity. So
yeah.
By the time we have games that have matured into games that would go mainstream, probably the Lightning Network has also improved. So we're kind of moving together. So yeah,
it sounds like the perfect marriage, right?
I'm an engineer, so like I like to be quite skeptical of technology. I think Lightning has trade-offs, but I think these trade-offs are fine for gaming, right? We can get a lot of scalability and growth by trading off, for example, a little bit of custody, for example, which is kind of okay for like casual gaming. Yeah. You play a game, you earn a few stats. It's not the work, doesn't need to be completely, non-custodial. I think there are some trade-offs there. But it's great, just being able to send a transaction and just get a confirmation that, it was sent, right? Where with Bitcoin, you send it and it's like, well, is it sent? I don't know. It might, it might disappear out of the mempool. I had that for a while, right?
And it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Hey, and you're the co-founder of Zebedee. We're talking about payments. What in one sentence is Zebedee?
In one sentence, you make it hard, man.
Yeah. Let's try it.
Yeah. Zebedee is basically a payment platform for digital worlds, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay,
cool. Good.
And Zebedee actually just stands for something. It's the Zebedee empowers Bitcoin-enabled digital economic engines.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
It's a backronym. We basically just want to make kind of payments in the digital world and in games as easy as information, how it should be sending information. But
yeah. And I saw a lot of videos on your Twitter feed, tweaking with other games to make that possible. And it really, looks very awesome to me. So.
Well, that was a thing I noticed. So I recently have this project, which I'm going to change the title just for legal issues probably, but it's tentatively called Bittendo, where I'm making some software which will let any venue, like a conference or like a gaming bar, they will be able to buy a retro game console like a NES, Nintendo, or a Sega Mega Drive, and they'll be able to kind of add Bitcoin to it without having to alter the game.
Awesome.
And that was just because I often go to conferences and I bring Bitcoin games for people to play. And there was an interesting moment at Advancing Bitcoin a couple of years ago in London, which is a good developer conference in London, where I brought these games that basically you play the games and they gave you stats, but they were kind of custom made games and people enjoyed them. People that were fun. But Ben Ark, who from LM Bits, he brought Street Fighter, and you actually paid sats to play. He didn't give you any money, but everybody wanted to play Street Fighter. So, obviously, because it's like, so I just thought, well, like, why bother? Like, I don't need to make a game from scratch. I can actually just add Bitcoin to games people like,
Yeah, sure.
It's easier for me, and so that's kind of where that came from. And then it kind of evolved. Well, I can make a tool that anybody could do this, and
that sounds great.
That's what I'm working on at the moment, like as my kind of side project.
Yeah. Well, to all the listeners and viewers out there, you really have to look up the Twitter account of Christian, because you can follow all the things he's doing over there. So that's really great to see, man. Hey, we have all kinds of questions for you about Zebedee and your vision on the Lightning Network, but it has to be in the 21 minutes. Before we enter that part, do you also have a Lagavulin, 60 years old, in your collection there? Oh, yeah. He really has it, or it's there. It's above, right? Yeah,
we see it in action. And another one.
That's the Ron Swanson, right?
Yeah. Man. I don't drink whiskey that much, but when I'm drinking it, I really like that one.
This was the first whiskey when I drank. I hated it. I didn't like whiskey at all, but I watched Parks and Recreation and saw Ron Swanson drink it, and I thought there's that kind of a romance there. So I forced myself to drink it every day, and I hated it. And at one point, it just tasted like gold, and I just got into whiskey. But this is better. If you can get this, it's the old 12-year-old, which is better than the 16-year-old.
Oh, really?
But it didn't make it anymore. This is the new 12-year-old, which isn't as good.
Oh, really?
But that's like
amazing.
That's the better one if you can find it.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, I will have to check it. Yeah,
is it empty, or is
it?
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah, no.
You emptied it. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Hey, cool. Okay, guys, let's we can do a podcast on whiskey also, Christian.
Yeah.
But that's for another time. Let's start with in person, and drink. And let's start with the 24 minutes about Zebedee.
Conecte o mundo.
All right. Well, like you said, Zebedee enables programmable payments and small transactions to power economies for virtual worlds. Why is it so important for the gaming industry?
Gaming industry has a massive problem with payments. Gaming is supranational and global. Like, stores, like physical stores, and even like digital stores like Amazon, basically happen in one country and one jurisdiction. But when you make a game, you have players all around the world, and just sending them money is impossible because they each have their own different currency. But if everybody uses Bitcoin, it's a supranational international currency which can be sent via an API with no permission. So
yeah. And I can imagine that also the speed of the transaction can play a part in that, because Bitcoin, especially using the Lightning Network, is instant, and maybe the legacy payment systems aren't.
Yeah, and also gamers, like in game development, you want instant feedback. You get a coin, ding, you feel that, you get that kind of.
Yeah.
So when we have game developers use our API, we basically recommend, like, some game developers try to give them like Bitcoin after they've earned so much, and give them a one sat as quickly as possible if you can. And
like you did on the, maybe you can tell something about it. Like it was like the Super Mario tweak you did, right? So every time you pick up a golden coin, you get one set or maybe a couple of sets.
Yeah, well, it can be configured to whatever, but I think for that kind of tech demo, as soon as you jump and get a coin, it sends you a sat with the API, and that can be done via our Zebedee gamertag API, or you can also send to a Lightning address. But with a Lightning address, you probably want to send more than one sat. It routes over the real network, so you're going to pay way more in fees. But it's possible for sure.
Hey, can you tell us about any exciting future projects or plans for Zebedee in terms of game development and the Lightning Network?
No. But
so that's a short answer.
Like, that's not to say we don't have exciting projects, but I can't talk about it because it's like but I can kind of hint. Well, I suppose it's public knowledge that Square Enix were in our last investment round, so we're looking forward to working closely with them. That's all I can say. We do have a AAA title that has given us permission to kind of help them add Bitcoin to their game. But it's a bit frustrating that I can't talk about the game developers we are working with. But I would just kind of stay tuned. Like, it's surprising. Like, it's kind of, a lot of it is after this whole FTX thing, after that's kind of crashed. Like, a lot of the big companies were very interested in kind of like other coins, let's say other blockchains. And after the crash, and like, a lot of them have got disenfranchised with everything, but a lot of them have actually just kind of gotten more interested in Bitcoin because they kind of see it as like the stable.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, it's not like the value hasn't disappeared like some other, like, it's been there. Like I have this, I think it's my pinned tweet, which is, I often get asked, like every time I go to a gaming conference, people say like, why aren't you using this blockchain for gaming? Or why aren't you using like Polygon? Why aren't you using Solana? I said, like, I've been in this space since 2013, and every couple of years, people say, why aren't you using X blockchain in gaming? And a couple of years later, those X's have disappeared, right? But Bitcoin is like being the one that's been there.
It's the only one.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of the larger companies are actually seeing this at the moment. And we've had some exciting meetings, but that's all I can tease, unfortunately.
Okay. Fair enough.
Doesn't matter. Well, like you said, 2 years ago, Zebedee raised a lot, and last year again in a new round of funding to further development in Lightning payments for games. And you also, I also read to integrate new partners. Can you share perhaps which partners you integrated already or are planned?
Yeah, so I suppose like at the moment, just because, games take a long time to make, like a AAA game can take like 7 years to make, right?
Yeah, crazy, man.
So at the moment, the games we kind of roll out at the moment are like hyper casual mobile games because they can like add Zebedee to their game in like a few weeks. So we have a company called Vika, and Vika are known because they have the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire IP on mobile. So they built a game where you can play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and get like a million stats, right? So that's kind of quite exciting. With like Fountain, we're working with, so they're quite exciting, and we kind of hope to grow with them. I really see podcast 2.0 taking off. And we have a lot of other like larger game studios, who we could only really work with by, because we had raised so much money. We had to kind of go big or go home. But now we're like a real company, and we have like real departments, and we are doing everything, because a lot of these larger game studios, like the household names, they can't really just deal with like some scrappy Bitcoin startup or blockchain startup. They have to know that you're kind of compliant in America or the States. But we're able to do that, due to our round. So we have some interesting, game studios we're talking to. But as I said, it does take a few years for these people to kind of make these games. So, but hopefully in a few years' time, there'll be some exciting things.
When we stop the recording, you can tell us some more.
Of course.
You secretly stop. Like it'll be a hot mic moment, won't it?
And if you drink something from behind,
then it helps. All fluids. And what role do you see the Lightning Network playing in the future of in-game item ownership, for instance, and trading of items?
I think there's a lot of confusion about this, because I actually. I started doing Bitcoin games in 2013, but in 2014 or 2015, I was also doing like, I guess what are now known as NFTs. But at the time, it was called tokens on Counterparty. I suppose this is a little bit like interesting in the moment with ordinals and inscriptions. It's kind of come to light. But I played around with in-game items as like, kind of on the blockchain, as it were. And obviously, it's very hard to make scale on chain for a game. Like when you have to do like, billions of transactions, if gaming takes this on, you can't really do that on the Bitcoin blockchain. So I was very interested, when the Lightning came out, could you actually take it off chain? That kind of would make everybody happy, right? It wouldn't, Bitcoiners would be happy because it wouldn't like fill up the block space, and gamers would be happy because you'd have like very cheap things. But it's very, very hard to do NFTs on the Lightning Network. I know there are protocols like Taro and RGB, but I wrote a Medium post on this. They're kind of more suited towards like the off-chain stuff with Lightning. Lightning channels is more about a liquid currency. So like Taro is looking at stable coins, but with an NFT, you only have one. And Lightning works on routing, right? You need to like lock up capital. So it's very, very hard to do. And I did a lot of research into how can we do it when I was in Japan. And I don't think Lightning will offer too much to in-game item ship. Maybe like clever side chains could, like drive chains, that kind of thing, if we ever get them. But I see Lightning as I kind of see that sats, because like all these NFTs need a base currency to trade against, you know. And at the moment, it's Ethereum. It's kind of where these NFTs trade. Yeah. But I think you could have like non-NFT game items that people trade in a game, and they could even work like cross-game, you know, like with like, you know, private blockchains, which are basically just like shared databases, these kind of things. I think using sats could be a way to trade an item, get the sats, take those sats out of the game into another game, you know. So I think, you know, sats and Bitcoin could be the base currency to kind of trade these like items in any game, you know. So let's kind of see where it mainly takes off. And
do you have an integration that is still on your personal wish list, or something that you would like to see integrated with Zebedee?
A game, you mean?
Yeah. For example, or a gaming company.
Oh yeah. So I actually wish. So I kind of want, and actually, I'm going to try to make it possible by releasing some more tools. But I actually want the modding community to kind of find out about Zebedee, because there's a lot of people who mod Minecraft, right? You know, and I think Minecraft would be great with Lightning. And I know there are some like projects out there that do it, but I think with Zebedee's help, with a modding community, we could really help make a really kind of slick, easy to use, Bitcoin infused Minecraft. So obviously if Microsoft want to actually do it in the main game, that would be great. But if not, just like a good modding community to kind of work with Zebedee. That's a bit more punk, I think, than like, you know.
That sounds great.
I think a lot of users would like that. Yeah.
Like large game companies don't want to do anything too risky, you know what I mean? But
of course.
So that's the thing. So I'd love to work with Nintendo or something like that, but they're not going to do anything too risky. And, you know, my kind of like the cypherpunk, whatever part of me just wants like an indie game studio or a modding community to kind of do something really interesting.
Yeah, or start your own game studio. That will be also nice, Christian.
Yeah, well, that's kind of I have thought about that. You know, like once when Zebedee is like, you know, successful, and you know, I'm very rich from it or whatever. I don't know. I'll start my own gaming studio and kind of focus on that. But at the moment, you know, I think we're better helping other game studios adding Lightning, because one of the mistakes I've seen in like the whole blockchain gaming community and like since 2013 is like the blockchain people tried to make the games and they're not very good at making games. So so I think at the moment it's more fruitful to kind of work with the studio closely, and you advise on how to do the Bitcoin stuff, but they can make really good games. That's kind of what we're doing at the moment.
And what advice would you give to game developers that are looking to integrate the Lightning Network into their games now? So people that are really good in making games, but missing the piece of information you have, maybe.
Yeah, you have to think about security from day one. So like if you make a game which is just like fun to play, you don't really have to worry about people cheating, because like, you know, they're only cheating themselves. Unless it's like a multiplayer game, then people kind of cheat. But a lot of game developers just want to make a game, and as soon as they put Bitcoin into it, they don't realize that every hacker out there is going to try to crack the game. So you have to think about, like, if you do it from day one, it's quite simple to make it secure. You can do a lot of stuff that is verified on the game server, not on the client. But we've had some people come on board who like they don't have a server, they just have a client, and it's kind of very hard to kind of retrofit security once you've design it. So I would say
the thinking is, I think that Koji taught us exactly this, that he was involved in some projects with games, and there were a lot of cheaters.
Well, we worked together.
Those projects.
Yeah, well, I worked with Koji since 2015 actually, when I together. So we actually worked together, and actually probably me and Koji actually made the first Lightning game, I would probably say. But it wasn't big outside of Japan. But probably like 2000. When the Lightning Network first came out, we worked with him in a company called Hash Hub, where we released a mobile game.
Cool.
Saratobi, my earlier game, but with Lightning. And we even made a wallet to kind of handle all the channels. So that was early on. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool. If you look at the future of the gaming industry, I think 2 or 3 years, I don't know if that's much, but I think it is. How will it evolve with Bitcoin and Lightning in mind, combining it?
Yeah, I think it could go parabolic if the gatekeepers open up a little bit. So one of the friction with the gaming, probably any kind of industry, is you have gatekeepers. So with gaming, you really need a game to go viral, and a game can only really go viral on 2 platforms, either Steam or the App Store. It's very, and Steam don't allow like blockchain games at all. And Apple kind of make it very, very hard. And, it's really hard to get viral. Having said that, I think in my experience, like Apple, when I first got into Apple, banned all like Bitcoin wallets and apps at all. At some point they will open up. They kind of do like a blanket ban because there's like so many scams, and they just want to kind of figure out the legal structure, and then they'll kind of open up. And Zebedee being like a real company, we've made sure we've done everything. Like we're not a like dodgy kind of crypto company from an island in the Caribbean, something like that. We are going to be very well poised to kind of work with them closely and be like, they would be looking for, a blockchain company to work with to show how to do it well. So
a good actor. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the timing is right. We could just, games can go viral like that. And Zebedee, we're ready to scale. We hired a lot of engineers with our latest round to make sure we can scale, because we know that games can just, go viral, right?
Explode,
indeed.
Before you know it, you've got like 1 million daily
Candy Crush
active
players.
users,
Also,
exactly.
And are you ready for 1 million players? Like server mined hardware that is
Oh, we've got big plans. Yeah. No,
awesome.
We didn't raise that amount of money to not build something really impressive.
So you're absolutely ready. So
but we had to
to
build it for these large game, because like I'm not naming names, but like, a large gaming company that everybody knows, comes to us like, can you handle this number? Like, we have to handle this number, right? So we're going to handle this number. Yeah.
And Tim Cook owns Bitcoin, so it's only time will tell if Apple also will integrate something like this. But
I'm pretty sure they're gonna add it to Apple Pay. I'm pretty sure that's been a rumor for a while. At some point, yeah.
Hey, and Zebedee also offers a developer dashboard, only accessible through invites. What does the dashboard offer to developers? What can you share?
Yeah, well, I can share that a lot on that, because we're actually, so as you said, at the moment it's invite only, just because as we grow as a company, we just want to work with like people who are serious, rather than people just like randomly signing up and all this kind of stuff. But we are opening a self-serve, so anybody can sign up and just start building with us. It basically gives you an API key for an API. So basically you can like then go into your game and just write, send Bitcoin to, enter Lightning address, enter gamer tag, whatever. And that will all work. It gives you a list of transactions. It gives the developer a wallet, so they can receive Bitcoin from the user. They can send it. It lets them easily buy Bitcoin. So one of our most popular use cases are Bitcoin rewards. So the game developer will give the player like some small rewards. So in order to do that, they need to buy Bitcoin. So they can buy Bitcoin from the dashboard, and then that funds their game. We have a marketplace that'll come to that with a bunch of add-ons, which will help with like security, some security tools and analytics, all this kind of stuff. It's basically, it's like, a typical developer dashboard really, but it's kind of
cool. And will you open it up to everyone someday, or? We
will open it up soon. Yeah. It's imminent, I would say. I guess the one caveat will be, because we are letting the game developers send money. In order for your game to kind of go to production, we will have to know a little bit about your game. Are you making like something that, like there's certain things we can't allow, like Nazi shooting puppy baby game, I mean, that kind of stuff, right? So, that kind of stuff. But you'll be able to build a game, play around with the API. And once we've checked, you're actually a serious game developer, you'll be able to kind of go live with your game. Yeah.
And co-founder Andre Neves is quite busy
Andre
on
Neves.
Neves. That's the right pronunciation. Thanks.
Well, that's what I've been saying. That could be wrong as well. I don't know. He hasn't corrected me.
Because I was also busy in the dashboard, and he is quite busy on the Nostr protocol too. And Andre released a tutorial on how to run a paid Nostr relay, no stream with Zebedee integration. And we were finding your Nostr account, and you shared it with us. So that's great. But I was thinking, could Nostr be also an important protocol for Zebedee in the future to work on integrating payment solutions, or is it just a showcase for more payments solution through a website because of course of the API that you can use?
Yeah, well, so Zebedee, we have an open source initiative, but it's not owned by Zebedee, but it's an initiative, so anybody can contribute to it. So Nostr is something we're taking seriously, and unfortunately I can't comment too much exactly what we're going to be doing with our app, this kind of thing. But we are, we're supporting Nostr, and I don't see why we wouldn't consider adding it in a more kind of smooth, integrated way. But I can't say anything yet. But we are all kind of big Nostr fans, and
awesome.
it's very much in line with like the Lightning Network, right? You have so email is an open protocol network. A Gmail can send to a Hotmail, but a Twitter can't send to a Facebook. But a wallet Satoshi can send to a Zebedee wallet or a Blue wallet. So we think that, with Nostr, why can't a Zebedee wallet send a message to, a Damus wallet or something? Who knows,
Yeah, for example. Yeah. Of course.
And talking about the Zebedee node you run, what software is it running and on what hardware?
Yeah,
can you share some insights on it?
Yeah, I obviously I can't go too much into the details, but I can say that we run a lot of LND nodes. And we have redundancy. So we also have a layer of like load balancing. So like if one node goes down, the payment platform will still kind of stay up, and we're in different regions and jurisdictions. So obviously if there's an earthquake, we'll be okay. Yeah. We also are currently integrating other protocols as well, like, C Lightning, this kind of thing, just to make sure we got some LND bug redundancy or something like that. Yeah.
And do you also run a Lightning node yourself?
Yeah, I do. Yes, yeah, I do.
And what software do you use on that node?
I do my Raspberry Blitz. I've got one on a Lenovo laptop and one on like a Raspberry, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah.
Just like it's LND, I guess. LND, yeah.
Okay, we have time for one more lightning question. Well, at the Bitcoin Amsterdam conference, we asked a couple of our guests the question, how will you know when the Lightning Network has succeeded? And Sergey from Bitrefill said, when you don't hear the word Lightning anymore. So it looks like he's focusing on the onboarding process, and that is, in the end, people just don't want to know that they're using Lightning. It just needs to work. Do you agree with him? And what's your take on this?
Well, absolutely. So at Zebedee, we've done like a lot of A/B tests on games.
Yeah.
And we've actually seen like if we put a game on if a client or we put a game on the App Store and they use Sats and Lightning instead of Bitcoin, then it like people just like download it less, they play less. Even if it's the same thing, just normal people, the Bitcoin meme is so powerful. Why not use it? A lot of people just think Sats is a different token and it confuses them. So yeah, I kind of happy to kind of promote Bitcoin, at least in the short term. Maybe Sats will take off, but people just like Bitcoin.
Yeah. Great.
Well, we had a lot of more questions. Perhaps some other time, Christian, then we come back to the other questions.
The whiskey bar.
Yeah, the whiskey
Live from the whiskey bar.
That would be nice.
Thanks.
Conectado Lumea.
Yeah, we have one question left for you, Christian. And you can choose one yourself, because we pre-recorded a couple of questions from previous guests and people we love from within the Lightning space. Edward can tell you exactly which one to choose from, and then you can make a choice.
I have a question from Bastien Teinturier from Asank, and one from Jesse de Wit. He's a Lightning developer at Breeze Technology, and one from Moritz from Albi. Which one do you want to hear?
The first one was from who? From Async again?
From Async, Bastien Teinturier. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
All right,
cool.
Here it comes.
Hey there, T-Bast here. So my question for you is, what event do you think will have the most impact on the Lightning Network in 2023?
This is a perfect way to show Zebedee.
Yeah, I was going to say, like...
Yeah, of course.
I will say, probably Nostra, I think, yeah, if I'm honest.
Oh, right. I like that.
But I wanted to say Bittendo.
Yeah.
Bittendo, great.
But
Bittendo.
have to be Nostra, yeah. It's great, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, Nostra, then, yeah.
Just because
Awesome.
people are interested in Nostra who aren't even interested in Bitcoin, right? And they'll learn about Lightning through Nostra. It isn't being like kind of sold to them as this is Bitcoin. They get it instantly from the utility end. You know,
it makes the explanation easier. The whole context is different, and you don't need to go through the whole Lightning. And well, with Zaps, that's of course for us awesome.
Perfect, man.
Conectează lumea.
Okay, Chris, where can people follow you or the projects, all the projects you run? Can you maybe share your Twitter or GitHub or whatever you want?
Yeah, I was going to say my Nostra address is NPUB1. I need to use an alias, but just go to my Twitter. It's at MandelDuck, and my Nostra key is in my profile.
So you didn't fix the NIP 05 then?
Well, I tried to use it, but in my Nostra client, it just didn't recognize them. So I think it needs to be updated. So yeah, maybe that's why.
Still some work to do there.
Early days. It's like the Lightning Network. Early on.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exciting.
Well, thanks again, Christian. And
thanks, man.
Thanks for listening, and thanks to all members participating in the Satoshi Radio Rings of Fire. And of course, thanks to everyone helping to connect the world with us. If you like our content, then please support us in our mission. Visit our website, connecttheworld.live, where you can also donate and subscribe, like, and share our content on your favorite platform. We need you to complete our mission, connect the world, so keep those nodes running, sats flowing, and rings burning. And see you all next week at the same Lightning channel. Adios, Christian.
Sayonara.
Gane.